The rain was falling sideways when Zara Monroe dragged her 2 suitcases through the entrance of Hanol University's International Dormitory. Her braids were soaked. Her jacket was useless against the September monsoon. And her phone had died somewhere between Incheon Airport and the taxi ride that cost her half of her emergency fund. Great. Just great. She stood in the lobby, dripping water onto the marble floors like some kind of drowned cat, while students in designer clothes walked past her without a second glance. Actually, no. That wasn't true. They did glance at her. They stared. Some whispered behind manicured hands. Others took photos they thought she couldn't see. A few just looked at her like she was an exhibit at a zoo they hadn't paid to visit. Zara kept her chin up. She'd dealt with worse. Way worse. Back in Chicago, she'd survived things that would break most people in half. A few stares from rich kids in a foreign country? Please. She walked up to the front desk where a young woman sat, typing on a computer without looking up. "Excuse me," Zara said. "I'm a new exchange student. Zara Monroe. I'm supposed to check in today." The woman kept typing. Zara waited. And waited. And waited some more. Finally, she placed her palm flat on the counter, firmly enough to make a sound. "I said, I'm here to check in." The receptionist looked up slowly. Her eyes traveled from Zara's wet braids to her damp hoodie to her scuffed sneakers. Her expression didn't change, but her disdain was loud. "Exchange students check in at Building C. This is Building A, premium housing only." "My paperwork says Building A," Zara replied, pulling out a crumpled form from her bag. "Room 407. Presidential suite level." The receptionist blinked. Then she laughed a short, disbelieving sound. "There must be some mistake. Building A is reserved for certain students. Legacy families. Donors. You understand." Zara understood perfectly. She leaned forward, her voice dropping to something low and controlled. "What I understand is that my scholarship was sponsored by the Park Foundation. What I understand is that my room assignment came directly from the dean's office. And what I understand is that you have exactly 30 seconds to give me my key before I make a phone call that ends your employment." The lobby went quiet. Several students had stopped to watch. Phones were definitely recording now. The receptionist's face flushed red. She fumbled with her computer, typed frantically, and then, without another word, slid a key card across the counter. Zara took it, grabbed her suitcases, and walked toward the elevator. She didn't look back. But if she had, she would have seen someone watching her from the second-floor balcony. Someone with eyes as cold as winter. Someone who had just found his next obsession. Kang Jihoon didn't believe in fate. He believed in power. Strategy. Control. Things that could be measured, manipulated, and mastered. Fate was for the weak. For people who needed excuses for their failures and explanations for their suffering. Jihun needed none of that. At 22 years old, he was already the most powerful student at Hanol University. School president for 2 consecutive terms. Heir to the Kang conglomerate, a corporate empire that owned everything from luxury hotels to pharmaceutical companies. His family name alone opened doors that others didn't even know existed. And his face. Well, his face had launched 1,000 love confessions, all rejected without hesitation. Jihun stood on the balcony overlooking the dormitory lobby, watching the scene below unfold with detached interest. He noticed the commotion immediately. The wet girl arguing with the receptionist. The rising tension. The shocked gasps from onlookers. He'd expected her to back down. To apologize. To shrink. That's what people did when confronted with authority. They folded. They bent. They broke. But she didn't bend. She didn't break. She leaned in. And then she won. Jihun watched her walk toward the elevator, spine straight, chin lifted, dragging her cheap suitcases behind her like a queen hauling her own luggage. Something stirred in his chest. It felt like curiosity. No, stronger than that. Interest. "Hyung," said a voice beside him. "You're staring." Jihun didn't turn to look at his friend, Yoon Seo-jun, vice president of the student council and the only person allowed to speak to him so casually. "Who is she?" Jihun asked. Seojin glanced down at the lobby, then back at Jihun. His expression shifted from confused to concerned. The exchange student? American. Here on some kind of full scholarship. Park Foundation money, apparently. Why? Do you want me to? Building A, Jihun interrupted. Room 407. Seojin's eyes widened. That's your floor. Jihun finally turned to look at his friend. His expression was unreadable, as always, but there was something flickering behind those dark eyes. Something that made Seojin take a step back. I know, Jihun said quietly. And then he walked away. Zara's room was, actually, incredible. She stood in the doorway, momentarily stunned. The presidential suite level wasn't a joke. Her room was bigger than her entire apartment back in Chicago. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the Seoul skyline. The bed was enormous, crisp white sheets, fluffy pillows, a mattress that probably cost more than her tuition. There was a private bathroom with a rain shower and heated floors. A kitchenette with appliances she didn't recognize. A study area with a mahogany desk and an ergonomic chair. For a moment, just a moment, Zara let herself breathe. She'd made it. After everything she'd been through, the chaos at home, the scholarship applications, the visa struggles, the family who told her she was crazy for leaving, she was here. Seoul, South Korea. Hanol University, one of the most prestigious schools in Asia. A fresh start. A new life. Zara walked to the window and pressed her palm against the glass. The city sprawled beneath her, all lights and motion and possibility. Okay, Chicago, she whispered to herself. You're really doing this. A knock on her door interrupted the moment. Zara frowned. She didn't know anyone here. Who would be knocking? She crossed the room and opened the door, and found herself face to face with the most beautiful man she had ever seen. He was tall. At least 6 feet, maybe more. Broad shoulders, narrow waist, perfect posture. His hair was jet black and styled impeccably. His jaw looked like it had been carved from marble. And his eyes were cold. So cold that Zara actually felt a chill run down her spine. He looked at her the way a predator looks at prey it hasn't decided whether to chase. You're in my building, he said. His voice was deep, smooth, utterly devoid of warmth. Zara raised an eyebrow. Excuse me, this floor, this wing. It belongs to me and the people I choose to allow here. He tilted his head slightly, studying her. I didn't choose you. Zara should have been intimidated. Most people would have been. This man radiated power and danger in equal measure, and everything about his presence screamed warning. But Zara wasn't most people. She crossed her arms and leaned against the doorframe. That's fascinating, she said flatly. I don't remember asking for your permission. Something shifted in his expression. A micromovement, so subtle that Zara almost missed it. His eyes widened just slightly. His jaw tightened just barely. He wasn't used to being challenged. I'm Kang Jihoon, he said, as if that should mean something. Good for you, Zara replied. I'm Zara Monroe. And unless you're here to help me unpack, I think we're done. She started to close the door. His hand shot out and stopped it. Zara looked down at his hand, long fingers, expensive watch, perfect manicure, and then back up at his face. Do you really want to keep your hand there? She asked quietly. Because I promise you, you don't. For a long moment, neither of them moved. The tension was thick enough to taste. Then, slowly, Jihun removed his hand. But he didn't step back. Instead, he leaned closer, his voice dropping to something barely above a whisper. You're interesting, Zara Monroe. The way he said her name made her skin prickle. Like he was tasting it. Claiming it. That's not a good thing for you, he continued. Because when I find something interesting, I don't stop until I understand it completely. Zara met his gaze without flinching. And when I find something annoying, she replied, I don't stop until it leaves me alone completely. She slammed the door in his face. For 3 full seconds, there was silence. Then, muffled through the door, she heard something that sent a shock through her system. Laughter. Low, soft, and genuinely amused. See you around, Zara Monroe. His voice came through the door. Very, very soon. Footsteps retreated down the hallway. Zara stood frozen, her heart pounding harder than she wanted to admit. What the hell? The next morning, Zara's alarm went off at 6 a.m. She showered, dressed, and braided her hair into a protective style that would survive anything Seoul threw at her. Simple outfit: black jeans, white blouse, leather jacket. Nothing flashy, nothing that screamed, "Look at me." She'd learned a long time ago that being invisible was sometimes the safest option. But as she walked across campus toward her first class, she realized that invisibility was not going to be possible here. Everyone was looking at her. And not in the curious, "Who's the new girl?" way from yesterday. This was different. Students whispered behind their hands. Groups of girls huddled together, shooting her glances that ranged from jealous to murderous. Even professors seemed to do double takes when she passed. Zara had no idea what was happening until she heard a conversation between two students walking ahead of her. "Did you see the video?" "Who hasn't?" She literally slammed the door in his face. In Kang Jihoon's face. "The school president. Do you know how many girls would die just to have him look at them? She's either the bravest person on this campus or the dumbest." Zara's stomach dropped. Video? Someone had recorded that? She pulled out her phone and opened the campus social media app that had been pre-installed by the university. Her fingers were steady, but her pulse was racing as she typed her own name into the search bar. The results made her blood run cold. The top post had over 10,000 views. It was a video, grainy but clear, of Jihun standing at her door. Of their exchange. Of her closing the door in his face. The caption read, "New girl destroys school president's ego. Who is SG?" Comments flooded beneath it. "She's dead. Literally dead. The Kang family will have her deported by tomorrow." "Okay, but she's kind of iconic." "She better sleep with one eye open." He laughed, though. He never laughs. He never laughs. Zara stopped walking. She stood in the middle of the campus pathway, students flowing around her like water around a stone, staring at her phone. This was bad. Very bad. She'd come to Seoul to start over. To leave drama behind. To build a new life away from everything and everyone who had hurt her before. And now, on her second day, she was at the center of a scandal involving the most powerful student on campus. Perfect. Just perfect. "Miss Monroe." Zara looked up. A young man stood before her, neatly dressed, nervous expression, holding a clipboard like it was a shield. I'm Park Miho, assistant to the Dean of Students. The Dean would like to see you in his office. Immediately." Zara sighed. Of course he would. The Dean's office was exactly what Zara expected: wood panels, leather chairs, walls covered in diplomas and certificates. The kind of room designed to make students feel small. Zara refused to feel small. She sat in the chair across from Dean Cho, her posture perfect, her expression neutral. The Dean was a round man with nervous eyes and a receding hairline. He kept dabbing at his forehead with a handkerchief, even though the office was perfectly air-conditioned. "Miss Monroe," he began, "I want to start by saying that we're thrilled to have you at Hanol University. The Park Foundation Scholarship is very prestigious, and your academic record is impressive." "Thank you," Zara said, waiting for the but. But there it was. "There's been some concern about an incident last night involving Mr. Kang Jihoon." Zara said nothing. The Dean shifted uncomfortably. "Mr. Kang he's a very important student. His family has contributed significantly to this institution. And we wouldn't want any misunderstandings to affect your experience here." "What exactly is the misunderstanding?" Zara asked calmly. "Well, the video shows him coming to my room uninvited," Zara interrupted. "Shows him questioning my right to be in housing I was assigned. Shows me responding and asking him to leave." The Dean blinked. Well, when you put it that way. Is there another way to put it?" Silence. Zara leaned forward slightly. "Dean Cho, I came to this university to learn. I came here to build a future. I did not come here to be intimidated by rich boys who think they own the world. If Mr. Kang has a problem with me, he can take it up with the housing department. But I will not apologize for existing in a space I have every right to occupy." The Dean's mouth opened and closed like a fish. Before he could respond, the office door swung open. Zara didn't need to turn around to know who had just walked in. The temperature in the room dropped by several degrees. The dean's face went pale, and she could feel the weight of a cold gaze pressing against the back of her head. "Dean Cho," Jihun's voice came from behind her. "I see you've invited Miss Monroe for a chat." "And Mr. Kang. We were just discussing the misunderstanding?" Jihun walked past Zara's chair and positioned himself near the window, backlit by the Seoul skyline. "There's no misunderstanding. Miss Monroe and I had a conversation. Nothing more." The dean looked confused. "But I thought your family's office called and said—" Whatever they said was premature. Jihun cut him off. His tone was sharp. "Final. Miss Monroe's housing assignment stands. She'll remain in Building A. Is that clear?" The dean nodded frantically. Zara's eyes narrowed. What was he playing at? "Miss Monroe," Jihun continued, finally looking at her directly. "Walk with me." It wasn't a request. Zara stood slowly, deliberately taking her time. "I have class in 20 minutes. I'll make sure you're not late." She should refuse. Every instinct told her to refuse. This man was dangerous in ways she couldn't quite name, and getting closer to him felt like walking into a trap. But walking away felt like running. And Zara Monroe did not run. "Fine," she said. "Lead the way." They walked in silence through the administrative building, down a flight of stairs, and into a private garden that Zara hadn't even known existed. It was beautiful, all manicured hedges and stone pathways and a fountain that bubbled quietly in the center. But it was also completely empty. Private. Isolated. Zara's guard went up immediately. Jihun stopped walking and turned to face her. In the morning light, he looked almost human, almost warm. But his eyes were still cold. Always cold. "You didn't back down," he said. "Should I have?" "Most people would have." "I'm not most people." A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "No, you're not." He took a step closer. Then another. Until he was standing right in front of her, close enough that she could smell his cologne, could see the faint scar above his left eyebrow that she hadn't noticed before. "You intrigue me, Zara Monroe." "So you mentioned. Do you know what happens to things that intrigue me?" Zara held her ground. "You study them until they bore you?" "I become obsessed." The word hung in the air between them. Obsessed. Not interested. Not curious. Obsessed. Warning bells screamed in Zara's head. "I'm not a thing to be obsessed over," she said firmly. "No," Jihun agreed. "You're much worse. You're a challenge. And I've never been able to resist a challenge." He reached out, slowly, deliberately, and touched one of her braids. Just a gentle touch. A brush of his fingers against the intricate pattern. Zara's hand shot up and grabbed his wrist. "Hard." "Don't," she said, her voice low and dangerous. "Touch me without permission." For a moment, Jihun's eyes flashed with something. Surprise? Excitement? She couldn't tell. Then he smiled. A real smile this time. And it transformed his face from cold to devastating. "See," he murmured. "Obsession." He pulled his wrist free gently, not fighting her grip, and stepped back. "Go to class, Zara Monroe. We'll continue this later." "We won't continue anything," Zara shot back. Jihun just smiled. "We'll see." He walked away, leaving her alone in the garden with a racing heart and a terrible feeling that her quiet, fresh start life had just become very, very complicated. The next few weeks were strange. Jihun didn't approach her again. Not directly. But he was everywhere. When Zara walked to class, he was somehow already there, seated in a building she had to pass, visible through the window. When she ate in the cafeteria, he appeared at a nearby table, surrounded by his entourage. When she studied in the library, she would look up and find him watching her from across the room. He never spoke to her. He never approached her. He just watched. And the watching was driving her insane. "You have a stalker," said her new friend, Min Soyeon, over lunch one day. Soyeon was a fashion design major with bright pink hair and absolutely zero filter. She'd introduced herself to Zara during their shared ethics class by saying, "You're the girl who told off Kang Jihoon? I think I love you." They'd been friends ever since. He's not a stalker, Zara muttered, stabbing at her kimchi fried rice. He's just annoying. He's obsessed with you, Soyeon corrected. And honestly, it's the most exciting thing that's happened at this school in years. I don't want to be exciting. I want to graduate, get my degree, and go back home with my life intact. Soyeon raised an eyebrow. Do you though? Want to go back home? Zara paused. She'd told Soyeon bits and pieces about her life in Chicago. The absent father. The overwhelmed mother. The older brother who'd been like a parent to her until he wasn't. The reasons she'd needed to leave so badly that she'd applied to schools on the other side of the world. But she hadn't told her everything. Some things were too painful to say out loud. I want to have options, Zara said finally. And right now, this degree is my best option. Soyeon nodded slowly. Okay, fair. But can I just say, if you were going to have a scary rich obsessive gorgeous chaebol heir following you around, Kang Jihoon is not the worst choice. He's not following me. He's looking at you right now. Zara's head snapped up. Across the cafeteria, at a table surrounded by impeccably dressed students, Kang Jihoon sat. And yes, he was looking directly at her. When their eyes met, he raised his glass of water in a tiny salute. Like they were sharing a private joke. Like she was already his. Zara stood up abruptly. I have to go. She grabbed her bag and walked out of the cafeteria, refusing to look back. That night, Zara dreamed. She dreamed of Chicago. Of her brother Marcus and the way he used to ruffle her hair and call her Little Z. Of the night everything went wrong, sirens and shouting and blood on the kitchen floor. She dreamed of running. Always running. And then the dream shifted. She was in Seoul. In the garden where Jihun had cornered her. But now it was dark and the fountain had stopped and shadows pressed in from all sides. Jihun emerged from the darkness, his face half-lit by moonlight. You can't run from me, Dream Jihun said. I'll always find you. Zara woke up gasping, drenched in sweat. Her phone was buzzing. 3:47 a.m. Unknown number. She answered before she could think better of it. Hello. Silence. Then breathing. Slow and steady. Who is this? Zara demanded. A voice low, smooth, familiar, came through the line. You were having a nightmare. Zara's blood ran cold. How do you know that? How do you have my number? I know everything about you, Zara Monroe. I told you. I become obsessed. She sat up in bed, her heart hammering. This is insane. You're insane. Perhaps, Jihun agreed. But I heard you. Through the wall. Zara froze. Through the wall. The wall between her room and... Your room, she whispered. You're in the room next to mine. Room 408, he confirmed. I moved in last week. Wanted to be closer to my obsession. You're sick. Maybe. A pause. But you're not scared of me. No, Zara said firmly. I'm not. Good. Fear would make this boring. Another pause. Go back to sleep, Zara Monroe. You have an 8 a.m. class, and you look terrible when you're tired. The line went dead. Zara stared at her phone, her hands shaking not with fear, but with rage. He'd moved into the room next to hers. He was listening to her. This wasn't curiosity or interest or even normal obsession. This was something darker. And Zara knew in her bones that she should be terrified. But instead, she felt something else. Something that scared her more than Kang Jihoon ever could. She felt a thrill. 3 months. That's how long it took for Zara to realize she was in serious trouble. Not because of Jihun's obsession, though that hadn't faded. If anything, it had intensified. He was everywhere. Always watching. Always present. Always one step ahead of wherever she was going. No, the trouble was worse than that. The trouble was that Zara was starting to notice him. She noticed when he wasn't in the cafeteria and felt strangely disappointed. She noticed when he smiled at another student and felt an unexpected flare of jealousy. She noticed the way his jaw tightened when he was angry, the way his eyes softened when he thought no one was watching, the way his voice dropped when he said her name. She was noticing everything. And it was driving her mad. You like him, Soyeon said one afternoon, with the casual certainty of someone stating the weather. I do not. You've been staring at his table for the past 10 minutes. Zara snapped her gaze back to her friend. I was thinking. About him. About my economics paper. While looking at him. Coincidence. Soyeon burst out laughing. Oh honey. You're so gone. I am not. Excuse me. Both girls looked up. A young woman stood by their table, beautiful, polished, dripping with the kind of wealth that couldn't be faked. She was wearing a dress that probably cost more than Zara's entire scholarship, and her smile was sharp enough to cut glass. You're Zara Monroe, the woman said. It wasn't a question. Zara sat back in her chair. Who's asking? I'm Han Sujin, Kang Jihoon's fiancé. The word hit Zara like a truck. Fiancé. Fiancé. She forced her expression to remain neutral, but inside, something cracked. Congratulations, Zara said flatly. Is there something you need? Sujin's smile widened. Just a friendly warning. I know Jihun has been interested in you. He does this sometimes. Finds a new toy. Plays with it. Gets bored. But he always comes back to me. So whatever little fantasy you've been building in your head, let it go. It won't end well for you. Zara stood up slowly. She was shorter than Sujin, but somehow she seemed larger. More present. More dangerous. Let me tell you something, Sujin, she said quietly. I don't want your fiancé. I never asked for his attention. And if you have a problem with the way he behaves, I suggest you take it up with him, not me. Sujin's smile faltered. Furthermore, Zara continued, if you ever come at me with that condescending rich girl energy again, I will make sure everyone on this campus knows exactly how insecure you are. Are we clear? Sujin's face flushed red with humiliation. Students were watching now, phones out, eyes wide. Another moment. Another video. This isn't over, Sujin hissed. Yes, Zara said calmly, it is. She sat back down and picked up her chopsticks like nothing had happened. Sujin stood frozen for a moment, then spun on her designer heel and stormed away. Soyeon stared at Zara with her mouth hanging open. You just ate my lunch, Zara suggested. You just told off the Han family heiress. Do you know how powerful her family is? I don't care. You should. She's dangerous, Zara. Like, actually dangerous. Her father practically owns half of Seoul's entertainment industry. Zara shrugged. Then she should learn better manners. But inside, she was reeling. Fiancé. Jihun had a FINC. And he'd never mentioned it. Not once. For some reason, that hurt more than it should have. That night, there was a knock on her door. Zara ignored it. The knock came again. And again. And again. Finally, she yanked the door open. Jihun stood there, looking like he'd stepped out of a magazine shoot, black turtleneck, tailored pants, that perfect face that she hated herself for finding beautiful. We need to talk, he said. I don't think your FINC would appreciate that. Something flickered in his eyes. You met Sujin. She introduced herself. Very sweet girl. Excellent threat delivery. Jihun's jaw tightened. She shouldn't have done that. No? Then maybe you should keep your arrangements in order. I don't want to be part of whatever twisted game you two are playing. She started to close the door, but this time, Jihun didn't just stop it. He stepped inside. Zara's heart rate spiked. What do you think you're doing? I need you to understand something, Jihun said, closing the door behind him. Sujin is a family obligation. A business arrangement. Our families have been planning this merger since we were children. A merger. How romantic. I never chose her, Jihun continued, stepping closer. I never wanted her. She's a contract. A signature. Nothing more. Zara backed up, but the room wasn't that big. Soon her back was against the window, the city lights glittering behind her. And what am I supposed to be? She demanded. Your side entertainment? Your rebellion against Daddy's rules? No. He was close now. So close she could feel the heat radiating from his body. Then what? Jihun looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time, the ice in his eyes seemed to melt. Just a little. Just enough to let something else shine through. You're supposed to be the one who ruins everything, he said softly. The one who makes me break every rule I've ever followed. The one who makes me want things I shouldn't want. Zara's breath caught. That's not fair, she whispered. You can't just say things like that. Why not? Because I didn't ask for this. I came here to escape, Jihun. To build something new. Not to get tangled up with some chaebol heir who thinks he can obsess over me like a toy and then play the tortured hero when his fiancé shows up. I'm not playing anything, Jihun said. This is real. You are real. And I haven't felt anything real in years. Zara shook her head. I can't be your escape. I can't be the thing that makes your perfect life interesting. I have too much going on, too much to lose. Tell me. What? Tell me what you're running from. Tell me what happened in Chicago. Tell me why you wake up screaming at 3 a.m. and why you never call your family and why you chose a country halfway around the world to start over. Zara stared at him, speechless. I know you have secrets, Jihun continued. Everyone does. But yours are eating you alive. I can see it in your eyes, every day, every hour, every time you think no one is watching. You don't know anything about me. Then tell me. His voice cracked just slightly on those last two words. And somehow, that crack broke something inside Zara. My brother, she said, her voice barely audible. My brother Marcus. Jihun waited. He was my best friend. My protector. Our dad left when we were kids, and our mom worked 3 jobs, so Marcus raised me. He was everything. She swallowed hard. But then he got involved with some bad people. Loan sharks. Drug dealers. I don't know all the details, he tried to protect me from it. But one night, they came to our apartment. They beat him so badly that he... She couldn't finish. Tears were streaming down her face now, tears she'd held back for 2 years. Tears she'd sworn she'd never let anyone see. He's in a coma, she whispered. Has been for 2 years. No improvement. No brain activity. The doctors say he'll probably never wake up. Jihun didn't speak. He just stood there, watching her fall apart. I came here because I couldn't breathe there anymore, Zara continued. I couldn't walk past the hospital. I couldn't look at my mom's face. I couldn't live in the same apartment where they... She broke off, covering her face with her hands. For a long moment, there was only the sound of her crying. Then, warm arms wrapped around her. Jihun pulled her against his chest, holding her tightly, saying nothing. He just held her. And Zara, who hadn't let anyone hold her in years, let herself be held. She didn't know how long they stayed like that. Minutes. Hours. Maybe just seconds that felt like forever. Eventually, her tears slowed. Her breathing steadied. The raw pain in her chest settled into something duller, still present, but manageable. Jihun loosened his hold but didn't let go. I'm sorry, he said quietly. For everything you've been through. It's not your fault. No. But I'm still sorry. Zara pulled back slightly, looking up at his face. For once, it wasn't cold. It wasn't calculating. It was human. Why do you care? She asked. We barely know each other. I've done nothing but reject you since day one. Why do you care? Jihun reached up and gently wiped a tear from her cheek. I told you, he said. You're not like anyone I've ever met. You don't bow to me. You don't fear me. You challenge me at every turn. And yes, at first, it was obsession. Fascination. The thrill of the chase. He paused. But now it's more. I don't know when it changed. Maybe it was the way you stood up to the receptionist. Maybe it was the way you slammed the door in my face. Maybe it was every single moment since then, where you proved that you're stronger than anyone in this entire city. His thumb traced along her jaw. I care because you're worth caring about, Zara Monroe. And I don't say that lightly. Zara closed her eyes. This was a mistake. Letting him in, letting him see her pain, letting him hold her, letting him say these things, it was all a massive mistake. But she was so tired of being strong. So tired of carrying everything alone. I don't trust you, she whispered. I know. I don't know if I'll ever trust you. I know that too. This won't be easy. Your family. Your fiancé. This world you live in, I don't belong in it. Jihun smiled softly. Let me worry about all of that. And if you hurt me, I won't. You don't know that. No, Jihun agreed. But I know that hurting you would be like hurting myself. And I'm not interested in that. Zara opened her eyes. He was looking at her with an intensity that made her soul ache. "I don't know how to do this," she admitted. "Neither do I," Jihun said. "But we'll figure it out. Together. Together." Such a simple word. Such a terrifying promise. But for the first time since she'd arrived in Seoul, for the first time in years, Zara didn't feel alone. And that was worth the risk. The weeks that followed were the strangest of Zara's life. She and Jihun didn't suddenly become a public couple. That would have been suicide, both socially and literally, given the power of the Han and Kang families. Instead, they existed in a strange in-between space. Public indifference. Private intensity. During the day, they barely acknowledged each other. Jihun maintained his cold, untouchable image. Zara went to classes, studied, hung out with Suyeon. But at night they talked. Sometimes through the wall between their rooms, soft conversations that lasted until 2 a.m. Sometimes in the garden, hidden by shadows and moonlight. Sometimes in his room, where they would sit on opposite ends of the couch and just be. Zara told him more about Marcus. About her childhood. About the dreams she used to have becoming a civil rights lawyer, fighting for people who couldn't fight for themselves. Jihun told her about his family. The expectations crushing him from all sides. The father who saw him as a chess piece rather than a son. The mother who had died when he was young, leaving him in a world that demanded perfection and punished weakness. They were both broken. But somehow, together, the pieces seemed to fit. "What are we doing?" Zara asked one night, lying on the floor of his room, staring at the ceiling. Jihun was beside her, not touching, but close enough that she could feel his warmth. "Living," he said. "This isn't living. This is hiding. For now. But not forever." Zara turned her head to look at him. "You really think you can break the engagement? Go against your father?" "I think." Jihun paused. "I think I've spent my entire life being what everyone else wanted me to be. And I'm tired. So am I. Then let's stop." Zara laughed softly. "It's not that simple." "Why not?" "Because your father could destroy my scholarship with a phone call. Because Sujin could make my life hell. Because the whole world is watching us, waiting for us to slip up." Jihun rolled onto his side, facing her. "The world is always watching," he said. "That's not going to change. The question is, do you want to live your life for them or for yourself?" Zara met his gaze. "For yourself." When was the last time she'd done anything for herself? Every choice, every sacrifice, every decision, it had always been for someone else. For Marcus. For her mom. For survival. But this was just for her. "Okay," she whispered. Jihun's eyes widened slightly. Okay. Let's stop hiding. Let's stop pretending. Let's just figure this out." A slow smile spread across his face, genuine, warm, beautiful. "You're sure?" "No," Zara admitted. "But I'm done being sure. Being sure hasn't gotten me anywhere. Maybe it's time to take a risk." Jihun reached out and took her hand. Their fingers intertwined. It was simple. Innocent. Nothing scandalous or dramatic. But it felt like the beginning of something massive. Something that would change both of their lives forever. The fallout came faster than Zara expected. 2 weeks later, a photo surfaced on the campus social network. It was blurry, clearly taken from a distance, but unmistakable. Zara and Jihun in the garden, standing close together, his hand cupping her face. The caption read, "Kang Jihoon's secret relationship with scholarship student?" Within hours, the photo had gone viral. By the next morning, it was national news. Headlines screamed, "Chaebol heir caught with foreign lover. Han family demands answers about engagement." Who is Zara Monroe? The American woman stealing Korea's most eligible bachelor. Zara's phone exploded with notifications. Reporters tried to contact her through every possible channel. Students openly whispered and pointed. And then the summons. "Miss Monroe," said the dean's assistant, arriving at her morning class, "Mr. Kang Sung-ho wishes to see you." Immediately. Mr. Kang Sung-ho. Jihun's father. Chairman of the Kang conglomerate. One of the most powerful men in South Korea. Zara's blood ran cold. The Kang family building was a monument to obscene wealth. Zara sat in a waiting room that was bigger than her entire Chicago apartment, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. She was alone. Jihun had tried to come with her, but his father had specifically forbidden it. "This is between me and the girl," he'd said. The door opened. A woman appeared, older, elegant, dressed in traditional hanbok. "The chairman will see you now." Zara stood, smoothed her clothes, and followed. The inner office was vast and oppressive. Dark wood, heavy curtains, the smell of old money and older power. And there, behind a massive desk, sat Kang Jihoon. He was exactly what Zara expected. Gray hair, cold eyes, the same cold eyes Jihun had inherited. Thin lips pressed into a line of permanent disapproval. "Sit," he commanded. Zara sat. For a long moment, the chairman simply stared at her. Assessing, evaluating, deciding how much of a threat she posed. "You're the American," he said finally. "The one who has bewitched my son." "With respect, sir," Zara replied, her voice steady. "No one bewitched anyone. Jihun and I have developed a connection. Nothing more. A connection." The word dripped with contempt. "My son has a duty to this family. To our legacy. To the Han family, who have been our allies for 3 generations. And you, some scholarship student from nowhere, think you can disrupt all of that with a connection. I'm not trying to disrupt anything." "Then what are you trying to do?" Zara met his gaze without flinching. "Live my life, sir. That's all." The chairman leaned forward. "Let me make something clear, Miss Monroe. I have built an empire that spans continents. I have destroyed men more powerful than you could imagine. Governments bow to my influence. Markets move on my word. And you're nothing." He let the word hang in the air. "If you do not end this ridiculous relationship with my son, today, I will make sure you regret it. Your scholarship will be revoked. Your visa will be canceled. Your family back in Chicago, well, I'm sure something can be arranged." Zara's heart pounded. He was threatening her family. Her family. The same family she'd been trying to escape, but also protect. "I see," she said quietly. "Good." The chairman leaned back, satisfied. "I knew you would be reasonable. Now, I see," Zara repeated, "that you're exactly the kind of man who created the son who desperately wants to escape you." The chairman's expression shifted. "Excuse me. Jihun told me about you," Zara continued. "About how you've controlled every aspect of his life. How you've never let him make a single choice for himself. How you treat him like a product rather than a person. You have no right." "I have every right," Zara cut him off, her voice rising. "I have the right to choose who I care about. Jihun has the right to choose who he cares about. And all the money and power in the world doesn't change that." She stood up. "You can threaten me all you want, Mr. Kang. But I'm not afraid of you. I've survived things you couldn't imagine. I've lost things you couldn't comprehend. And I've come too far to let some man in a suit tell me who I'm allowed to love." Love. The word slipped out before she could stop it. But once it was out, she realized it was true. She loved him. She loved Kang Jihoon. And that made her more powerful than any threat could touch. The chairman's face was purple with rage. "You will regret this," he snarled. "Both of you." "Maybe," Zara said, walking toward the door. "But at least we'll be together when we do." She left without looking back. Jihun was waiting outside the building. The moment Zara emerged, he was there, catching her by the shoulders, searching her face. "What happened? What did he say? Are you okay?" Zara looked up at him. And she smiled. "I told him I love you," she said. Jihun went still. "You, what?" "I didn't mean to say it. It just came out. But it's true." She took a breath. "I love you, Kang Jihoon. I don't know when it happened or how it happened or if it even makes sense. But I do." Jihun stared at her. Then, slowly, his face transformed. The ice melted away. The walls crumbled. And underneath was a man who had been waiting his whole life to be loved. "Say it again," he whispered. "I love you." He pulled her against him, burying his face in her hair. "I love you too," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "I have loved you since the moment you slammed that door in my face. I didn't know how to say it. I didn't think I deserved to." Zara wrapped her arms around him. We're going to have to fight for this, she said quietly. Your father. The Han family. Everyone who thinks we don't belong together. I know. It's going to be hard. I know. It might not end well. Jihun pulled back and looked down at her. Maybe, he said. But that's not going to stop me. Nothing is going to stop me. Not anymore. He cupped her face in his hands. You asked me once what you were supposed to be. Remember? In my room, after Sujin came to see you. Zara nodded. You're not a toy. You're not a rebellion. You're not entertainment. He leaned his forehead against hers. You're my everything, Zara Monroe. You're the only thing that makes sense in this entire insane world. And I will burn every bridge, fight every battle, and tear down every wall if that's what it takes to keep you. Zara's eyes filled with tears. Promise, she whispered. Promise. And there, in front of the Kang family building, with the whole world watching, with enemies gathering, with chaos on the horizon, they held each other. Two broken people. One impossible love. And a fight that was just beginning. 6 months later, Zara stood on the stage of Hanol University's graduation hall. She was giving a speech, the first African-American woman to receive the Park Foundation's Excellence Award for Outstanding Academic Achievement. The audience was full of faces she recognized. Soyeon, cheering loudly from the front row. Professors who had once doubted her, now nodding with respect. Students who had whispered about her, now listening intently. And in the back, standing beside the door, Jihun. He was no longer the school president. He'd resigned the position 3 months ago, declaring that he was done living by his father's rules. The scandal had been enormous. The media circus had been relentless. But he'd survived. They'd survived. The engagement to Sujin had been formally broken. The Han family had threatened retaliation, but Jihun had countered with evidence of their own financial misdeeds, leverage he'd been collecting for years. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't clean. But it was over. Zara cleared her throat and looked down at her notes. When I came to Seoul, she began, I was running. Running from pain. Running from loss. Running from a past that felt like it would swallow me whole. She paused, letting the words settle. I thought starting over meant erasing who I was. Becoming invisible. Surviving without really living. Her eyes found Jihun's. But I learned something here. Something that changed everything. She took a breath. I learned that strength isn't about hiding your pain. It's about letting the right people see it. I learned that love isn't about being saved. It's about choosing to save each other, every day, even when it's hard. And I learned that being different, being the outsider, isn't a weakness. She smiled. It's a superpower. The audience burst into applause. Later, after the ceremony, after the congratulations, after the endless photographs, Zara found Jihun waiting by the fountain in the campus garden. Their garden. Great speech, he said, taking her hand. Great audience, she replied. He pulled something out of his pocket. A small box. Zara's heart stopped. What is that? Open it. With trembling fingers, she opened the box. Inside was a ring. Simple, elegant, beautiful. A diamond set in delicate gold, surrounded by tiny sapphires. It was my mother's, Jihun said quietly. She told my father to give it to me when I found someone worth keeping. He never did, probably hoped I'd never find anyone. But I took it from the family vault anyway. He looked at her with those eyes, still intense, still penetrating, but now filled with warmth. Marry me, Zara Monroe. Zara laughed through sudden tears. We've only been together for 6 months. I know. Your family still hates me. I know. The whole world thinks we're crazy. I know. He smiled. Is that a yes? Zara looked at the ring. At him. At everything they'd built together, against all odds, against all reason, against every force that tried to tear them apart. Yes, she whispered. Yes, yes, yes. He slipped the ring onto her finger. And then, in the garden where their story truly began, they sealed their promise. Not with words. Not with vows. But with a future neither of them had ever dared to dream of. Some love stories are easy. Boy meets girl. They fall in love. They live happily ever after. But their love story. Their love story was born in fire, forged through pain, and made unbreakable by every battle they chose to fight together. The new black girl in Seoul had come to escape her past. The ice-cold school president had made her his obsession. And together, they became something extraordinary, something legendary, something that would never, ever die. If this story grabbed your heart and refused to let go, subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell. Because there are more stories coming, more dark romances, more forbidden love, more characters who will make you feel things you didn't expect. Like this video, share it with someone who needs a good romance, and leave a comment telling me, did you see their love coming from the very first moment?